Do you trust the courts?
I don't think most Americans do. And that's when you have real revolutions.
If you don't trust the real revolution, what do we do in a real revolution?
Hey, listen, we're not trying to go there right now.
We are there right now. We just were. It's January 6th.
Listen,
if there was any time to go there,
don't worry.
Don't touch me.
Listen. If there is one,
where would you?
If there is one, you're going to lose.
Sure.
Buddy.
Okay. We'll see. Okay.
It's never good when the debate breaks down into one person touching you saying, "Listen, if it comes to violence,
you're going to lose.
You're going to lose." Okay. That's things have not gone well.
We need to go, I'll say it. All right. We need to go in.
Shut the fuck up, Boomer.
To the Capitol.
Oh, well, wait. Ray Epps didn't do anything because he said peacefully at the end, right? We can move past him.
He did say
well, no, he said go into the Capitol.
He said peacefully.
Well, so what? It's still illegal to go into the Capitol.
But the peacefully was the operative word. Yeah, I thought peacefully made it all okay.
No, going in is illegal. Trump didn't say storm the Capitol. He didn't say go into the Capitol.
He's going to get 6 months in prison. So
no, I mean,
nobody ever goes along with your jokes when you're in a debate. I empathize with you, Destiny. When I drop a joke like that, I expect my interlocutor to at least laugh or acknowledge that I'm saying something funny. Well, this guy's such a fucking stick in the mud. He can't even see a joke.
Okay, wait, hold on. It is a joke, but he's also trying to be sincere. He is saying he's making an argument, right? He's saying it, he's saying you're a hypocrite, and your quote side is a hypocrite because he said peaceful. So doesn't that like negate, anything else he said?
But what does peaceful have to do with it? Peaceful doesn't have anything to do with it. Look, he's completely playing into. He's playing into the argument.
No, I get it.
Now all of a sudden, peacefully makes no difference at all.
The Ray Epps thing, and they don't really talk about it in this specific point. The Ray Epps thing, I think, is one of the dumbest conspiracies. And I've been saying this.
How dare you? I can't believe you've fallen for it.
I know. I've been saying this for 3 years. I even tweeted it out. I think I literally tweeted out in 2021 or whenever the fuck this came out that this is like the dumbest conspiracy theory. Because, I remember looking into it when the accusation first came, and the accusation itself makes no sense. The accusation is, well, I think Ray Epps was a Fed because there's a video of him seeming to instigate people to go into the Capitol. And then he was on the FBI's most wanted list for 6 months. And then the FBI talked to him, and then they took him off the FBI's most wanted list. So therefore, he's a secret Fed.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting here like, what the fuck is the logic on that? That makes no fucking sense. You're telling me that the federal government engaged in a massive conspiracy on January 6th to try to instigate people to go into the Capitol. A charge which, by the way, if this was ever found out to be true, would be so devastating that the entire, not only everyone lose faith in the federal government, but whoever instigated this, the FBI or whoever, the entire organization could be like gutted and destroyed, right? If this came out to be true, right? This would be devastating if this came out to be true.
Oh, yeah. Terrible.
Right. And so
the end of America as we know it.
And so they were so competent in pulling off this scheme, okay, that not only did no one ever testify or never find any direct evidence that it ever came into the past, they did this so competently that no evidence ever came to pass. But the one person who fucked up, the one singular person that fucked up was whoever was in charge of the FBI's most wanted list. No one gave him the little memo that said, don't put our #1 main conspirator, Ray Epps, on the FBI's most wanted list for 6 fucking months. It took 6 months. His name was up. His face was up there. I'm supposed to believe
it.
Yes, I'm supposed to believe the government engaged in this massive fucking conspiracy. And for 6 months, no one thought to check the FBI's most wanted list to make sure none of their fucking secret agents were on the list.
Yeah, like they don't know. They can't just look at the most wanted poster and say, "Look, that's our main asset." That's Ray.
Take his ass off.
Why is Raymond on our fucking poster, you moron? He's our chief asset. None of this could have happened without Ray.
It's just like the argument makes no. It's like logic is goes there to die. The idea is, well, he was on the list and they talked to him and they took him off the list. Therefore, that must mean he's a Fed. It's like, what the fuck is the logic? He would never have been on the list in the first place. Or, by the way, when he was first put on the FBI's most wanted list, he was identified by the public within like a week. Okay. There's posts on like message boards that I saw when I first investigated this. When he was originally there in the video, people found out his name like very early on.
Instantly,
right?
yeah. They're
Yeah,
like,
like instantly.
look, he's got a Facebook account.
Yeah, and then it's just, but the idea is like, oh, they took him off the list, so he must be a secret Fed. It's like, what the fuck? That's retarded.
They took him off the list because he contacted them and cooperated with everything they asked.
Well, no, so it's like I think what happened was, or this is what they talk about. What happened was, so the FBI, they put him on the most wanted list because they don't know who he is. They find out who he is. The FBI goes out and talks to him. They make some like once the FBI finds out who you are, they take you off the FBI most wanted list. The whole point of the FBI's most wanted list is there a person they either don't know or they don't know who he is or they don't know where they are, right? Once they find out who you are and where you are, if they don't think you're going to be fleeing them or going disappearing somewhere, they'll take you off the fucking list. Even if they think they might charge you with something. Because there's no reason to keep you on the fucking list because they know who the fuck you are. That's the entire point of the list. It's like people have brainworms and they forgot what the fuck the point of the FBI's most wanted list was in the first place.
Yeah, they're like, look, we know where he lives.
Yeah.
We know where his kids live. We know where his wife works.
We found out what the fuck this guy's name is. He's some old boomer who lives out in Arizona where the fuck he lives. And we don't think he's a flight risk. You take him off the fucking list. Like, it's just so stupid.
Ray Epps. That stupid motherfucker.
And then, just to throw some shade at the left, because I gotta be enlightened centrist about the whole thing. You have these fucking idiots on the left who start defending him. It doesn't happen so much. It's happened a little bit in this conversation, but it happened more in the media where they were defending him. It's like, don't fucking defend this guy. He's an asshole. He's telling people to go fucking break in the Capitol, whatever. Fuck that guy.
Yeah.
But they're just doing it because it's like the tribal mind. Oh, if the right's attacking him, then we have to defend him, I guess. I don't know. It's ridiculous.
I mean, they're going to talk a bunch about it in here.
I know. They talk about it through this thing.
The whole reason that he's involved is just to throw the scent off Trump. Look, we don't have to blame Trump. It's Ray Epps' fault. He's the scapegoat.
Right. Yeah.
You guys want to hear the argument for federal involvement or not?
Go for it. Yeah. Not really.
Okay.
I want to hear it.
All right. Well, there's a lot of dimensions.
I'm with Destiny. Fuck this guy. I don't want to hear it either. This guy puts me to sleep.
To it. We can start with the Ray Epps issue. Here's a guy, you saw that was only part of the clip. There's much longer clips about Ray Epps, but here's a guy who's the only guy caught on camera as early as January 5th, repeatedly calling for people to go into the Capitol and prefacing his seemingly rehearsed remarks in each case, saying, I'm probably going to go to jail for this. I'm probably going to go get arrested for this. You need to go into the Capitol. The next day, he flew across the whole country, presumably to go hear Trump's speech. He skipped Trump's speech. Instead, he was a veritable Where's Waldo everywhere on January 6th, directing people, go into the Capitol. It's in that direction. That's where our problems are. Then amazing.
I thought Waldo was hard to find. What's this? Where's Waldo?
He's mixing his metaphors. Yeah.
He's pre-positioned right at that initial decisive breach point on the west perimeter of the Capitol, and he's whispering into somebody's ear just seconds before the bike racks are broken through. He texts his nephew, I orchestrated it. On paper, think about it. He's like a 6'3", former Marine who was wearing camo gear and a Trump hat, and he just happens to have had a leadership position in the Oath Keepers, the most demonized and heavily prosecuted.
He used to, right? He doesn't.
He didn't anymore. The most demonized and heavily prosecuted militia group associated with January 6th. And the regime doesn't touch him. However, initially, his behavior was considered to be so egregious, he was one of the first 20 people added to the FBI's most wanted list about January 6th.
This is just such brain rot to me. Like, if you're a government asset, you're working for the government, your goal is to get people to go into the Capitol and cause mayhem to make Democrats look bad or whatever you're trying to do. Republicans look bad. Why the fuck do you text your idiot fucking nephew? Like, that makes absolutely no sense at all.
You don't think the super hyper competent government that has Ray Epps to be the guy who's like the secret agent who's instigating all this stuff? They're like, listen, we forgot to tell him, don't text message your nephew and tell him of our evil government plan, okay?
It makes absolutely no sense. It makes
Yeah.
no sense. You're like working for the CIA, but by the way, I tell my nephew everything. Yeah, he hangs out on Discord all the time. He's a cool kid. None of this shit will ever leak.
It's, you know, and he brings up like the fact that this guy is an oath keeper, or was an oath keeper, I should say. It's like, okay, what do you think is more likely? You have some old boomer. By the way, he says he's like 6'3" in camo gear. Like he's some intimidating guy when this guy's like, I don't know, like his 60s or something. You know, you have a boomer who used to be in the Oath Keepers, who's saying this like incendiary shit, though he's saying peaceful, right? He's saying kind of both. Who's going around and doing what he's doing, and he's just doing it on his own volition because he's some fucking asshole that believes his dumb shit, right? And then he texts his nephew to brag that like, oh, listen, I was responsible for this. Like I did this thing. What do you think is more likely, that or the guy is a super secret agent by the government, and the government just so incompetently accidentally left him up on the FBI most wanted list for 6 months, and then also their government's so incompetent that the person they got in charge of instigating the January 6th riot is such a fucking idiot that they're texting their nephew that they did it.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with he's just an old boomer, old dumb boomer. Yeah,
it's just
it
like,
seems pretty obvious,
right? And also, what would? It's not even clear to me. Like, why would Joe Biden won the election? Okay,
right?
And it seemed like Pence was not going to throw out the votes. Why would the government?
Yeah, why would the deep state want this to happen?
The deep state or the government then want to have this January 6th situation? You know, you might say, well, because then this would hurt him in the next election. It's like, okay, but what if Pence was like a coward? And this actually changed his mind, and he actually threw out the vote. Like, this seems like a massive fucking gamble to do this action. It seems like an insane amount of risk for literally nothing, almost, on just a whim that maybe this will hurt Donald Trump in the future.
Yeah, or hurt the Republicans in general in the next election.
Right.
Yeah.
Which also, and this is part of the problem with all these conspiracies, it sort of relies on being able to predict every actor's actions, which doesn't make sense. Because, like, what if, theoretically, okay, what if Donald Trump was successful in getting the Secret Service to take him to the Capitol? And what if Donald Trump stood on the Capitol with a bullhorn and he told everyone to stop rioting and to just be peaceful and to let the process happen, right?
Right.
Well, then their entire plan would have backfired, wouldn't it?
The federal government plan, the secret
the evil
Ray
deep
Epps
state
plan,
right? Yeah, the Ray Epps plan completely would have backfired, right?
Right.
What if Donald Trump just did call in the National Guard and they just stopped them? And then Donald Trump said, I called in the National Guard.
He's going to get arrested.
Right. Yeah. It's just this is my problem with these sort of like widespread conspiracies is it's like you have to predict all the actors' motivations to such an insane degree when it's more likely like, no, shit just happens and people just act the way they do in the situation when they're caught off guard. That's the more likely, situation that's happening.
Yeah. I don't know. Did you watch the Puff piece? Because Ray Epps is like in a camper home now. Like
I did.
On the run.
Stupid. It was stupid. I saw it. It was dumb. And they shouldn't have, 60 Minutes shouldn't have done it.
Basically had to sell his house and
yeah.
Anyway, look, they're going to cry about it here. It's going to be fun.
He was prominently featured in the New York Times' ominously titled Day of Rage. Of all the clips the New York Times could have found and chosen, they chose Ray Epps to represent their thesis that this was a pre-planned.
This is why they do the Ray Epps thing on the left, because it makes the right look insane. That's why they do it, Sitch. It makes it look like conspiracy theory nuts, and that's the narrative that they want to play into.
That's part of it. Part of it is, the video of him telling people to go in the Capitol was one of the first videos anyone ever found.
Right.
Now, and I think there is a legitimate question to be asked here, but unfortunately it gets washed away by the insanity, which is a legitimate question is, when the FBI first identified who Ray Epps was, they went and had a conversation with him. What did he say? And what was the thought process about what they were going to charge him with or were they going to charge him with them? Did he give them information? Was he like going to take a plea deal? Like, what exactly was going down? I think those are all legitimate questions, but unfortunately, that's all been washed away by the stink of this conspiracy nonsense.
Yeah, that's a much more interesting thing. I think I'm pretty sure he says in the 60 Minutes piece that he just believed Trump was wrongfully denied the election. He thought the election was stolen, so he wanted to go into the Capitol as a show of force because the election had been stolen. So pretty simple.
Insurrection to storm the Capitol. And then when the discussion of federal involvement came into being, one of our major pieces at Revolver News, literally the next day is when the FBI quietly removed him from their list. And all of a sudden, he went from FBI's most wanted and featured in the New York Times' Day of Rage to New York Times does a fully dedicated puff piece on him. 60 Minutes does a sympathy segment on him. He's the only January 6th participant that Adam Kinzinger, who's never met a Trump supporter he doesn't want to see rotting in jail for 50 years, that Adam Kinzinger will defend more aggressively than Epps' own lawyers. And now, almost 3 years after, the government finally says, okay, we're going to hit you with a wrist slap misdemeanor, as though people are so simple-minded to think, well, if the argument is hasn't been indicted, therefore he's a Fed, if we indict him now, even if it's a misdemeanor, even 3 years after, no matter what the circumstances, this constitutes a refutation and totally wipes away the mountains of suspicious evidence surrounding the character of Ray Epps. That's just the case of Epps. There are many other things.
But before they get into it, I just want to say something that's interesting that he says at the end about the wrist slap. If there was not this narrative about Ray Epps being a secret Fed, right? If that didn't exist, then the same person here would be saying how awful it is that this old man who is a veteran is going to go to 6 months when he didn't even go in the Capitol. He literally didn't even go in the Capitol, and he's going to jail? This veteran? Oh my God.
For 6 months, really?
For 6 months, Adam.
And he was trying to chill out the rowdies.
That's
Tell them
right.
not to mess with the cops.
Adam, not only did he not go into the Capitol, this former patriot, okay, but the person he whispered testified, okay, that he told him to not go in the Capitol.
Right.
And yet he's still getting 6 months. This is a travesty.
Yeah.
You see how easy it is to just flip the
I think it is kind of, in all honesty, I think it is kind of a travesty.
Well, there is truth here that they're probably only hitting him with this thing because of the optics of it. That's probably completely true.
Because they've hit so many other people, they are like,
yes.
well, okay, we got to give this guy some time.
Right. So it's like, okay, you're right. You got one. This is I mean, it's the same thing with they hit the QAnon shaman guy as far as they did for completely optical reasons too.
Of course. Yeah. He's already out already doing he did an interview with Dave Pacman. He's doing the full interview.
Oh yeah. How'd that go?
I don't think it went well.
I don't Did you send it to me? Somebody sent it to me and I was like, I got to watch this. And
I'm sure I did. Yeah. I'm sure I did send it to you.
Just touch on that real quick. So you mentioned a few things I want to touch on. So you talked about how he whispered in somebody's ear and moments later that guy went in the Capitol. That was Mr. Samsel.
Yep, that's right.
And Mr. Samsel actually testified under oath. I believe he was convicted. He said that Epps actually told him, calm down, the police are on our side.
Well, he's changed his story. I wouldn't rest.
Did you write the original Revolver article?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I set aside 3 days to go over Ray Epps stuff, and it took me 6 hours to see it was one of the stupidest conspiracies I've ever seen in my entire life.
So the other thing I just want to
go for it real quick.
That's a little mean. I don't know. I don't think that was warranted.
Stupidest thing.
I mean, first of all, I think it is the stupidest thing. But
well, no, the other guy shouldn't have cut him off. He was going to launch into a diatribe. Let him go.
Oh, okay. Yeah, right. Maybe.
Yeah. But he's like, no, let me be nice to him for a bit longer.
Okay.
Sitch and I have this
yeah.
Well, you have this dynamic sometimes. Look, I'm ready for blood, and Sitch is like playing patty cakes with the people.
That's true.
I'm ready to call people stupid. He is stupid, Sitch. You know he is.
I agree. Listen, the Ray Epps thing is retarded, and the
fact that he's still buying into this nonsense.
Well, it's weird because he makes an argument coming up. Darren does that completely disproves his entire point, and it's weird that he makes the argument, and then Destiny accidentally saves him by saying that he's just wrong factually. So we'll see.
He didn't get convicted and he didn't get charged until
3 years later.
Okay. So the people who were charged with anything but misdemeanors were people who used violence and people who went into the House chamber where the joint session was, and the people who were involved in a seditious conspiracy. It had to be a conspiracy. Ray Epps acted alone here.
Well, so no, I wouldn't. That's an open question.
As far as we can see, he acted alone. Anything else beyond that would just be a conspiracy theory. So he falls into the same category.
Well, seditious conspiracy is technically a conspiracy theory. It doesn't mean that it's not true, right?
Seditious conspiracy is a charge. A conspiracy theory is
a theory of the case.
A theory that there is a conspiracy that took place. So he doesn't fall into any category that any of the other protesters fall in because he didn't fall into any of those three categories. So he got charged with a misdemeanor. Other people, the conspiratists, the people who used violence, and the people who went into the House chamber are the ones who were charged with felonies.
For the Ray Epps stuff, if you look at his story from start to finish, it is incredibly obvious. The guy is a boomer. The guy was a huge Trump supporter.
No,
he used to be part of the Oath Keepers a while before. That's what he testified to under oath. He used to be part of the Oath Keepers years earlier than he'd left. I think it was the Arizona chapter. Ray Epps
he was the head of the Arizona chapter.
That's fine. Ray Epps went to the march. You said he skipped the speech. Tons of people were listening to the speech on cell phones and other things and broadcasting to other people. Ray Epps was outside the speech. There's on video, I know, because you posted in your article with him literally telling people, "Let's go. We're marching to the Capitol."
That was before the speech.
Sure, yeah, but he's out to the ellipse where
he's telling people in advance of the speech we need to go to the Capitol because somehow he got it in his mind that everything would end up at the Capitol.
I'm pretty sure he's doing it in his as Trump is making the speech, not before the speech has begun.
No, when he began
people.
Before the speech began. There are timestamps on the video.
Then you can go back and watch it on the Revolver stories up there. For every single thing that you assert about him, that he's in video whispering into a guy's ear, you say it in the rest of your article. All he's doing on the day of, when the protesting is getting violent, is going up and down telling people, "Don't fight with the cops. Don't fight with the cops. The cops are on our side." That's what he's saying the entire time. The idea that he said that the entire day, but the one guy whose ear that he whispered into, that unfortunately we don't have audio capture of, that he and Samuel testified to, is he said, "Hey, the cops are on our side," or "the cops aren't enemies." They both say something to that effect. And that seems to synergize with everything else he said on that day. You go on to say that guy immediately after was the one that broke down the fence. No, he's not. You can see like 15 people right next to him that are all trying to break down the fence. Yeah, the guy goes in eventually. But if we truly believe that this guy is a federal agent or is working to instigate the riot, we've laid out absolutely nothing supporting that. Just some video footage of another boomer being at the rally.
No.
That was there. If you want to say that, why was he removed from the FBI list? I mean, why was he removed from the FBI list? Like, all of the information is out there. He said that after his video was identified and people on X started to identify him, and then because all of his online stuff is incredibly easy to find, he started to get phone calls, he started to get harassed, he started to get threats. So he called the FBI as soon as this was brought to his attention, and he told the FBI, "Hey, this was me, and here I am, and this is what's happening." And the FBI took him off the list.
No,
you want to claim
wrong.
That there was some...
Your timeline is wrong. He called the FBI
when he saw himself in the videos.
Okay, so focus on this part. This is the part I'm talking about. So Destiny makes a claim that the reason he eventually got taken off the FBI list is because once his identity came out, presumably from the Revolver article that this guy wrote, he started to get harassed. So then he called up the FBI to say, "Hey, can you fucking take me off this list?" Okay, that's the claim Destiny's making, right?
Right.
Wrong.
Yeah, a friend told him about it, and that's what he said. That's what he testified.
He called the FBI very shortly after January 6th because of his picture being on the most wanted list. He wasn't taken off the most wanted list.
He said the fucking same thing.
Wait. No. Wait. Listen to
FBI very shortly after January 6th because of his picture being on the most wanted list. He wasn't taken off the most wanted list until the middle part of 2021. There were multiple months span between him calling the FBI in the first instance and being quietly removed.
That's not true.
Yes, it is.
No, that's not true.
Well, I mean,
Okay. Let's think about this for 1 second.
Yeah, look,
Okay.
I don't need a second. It's so painfully
Right.
obvious. I can't believe someone is this retarded.
Okay, so Darren here is, so Destiny says the reason he got taken off the FBI list is because, you know, he was informed by his friend or he was getting harassed. So he called the FBI and said, hey, take him off the FBI 1 list. And then they said, oh, well, we know who you are, so I guess we can take you off, right? That's the claim that Destiny's and the Krauses are making. Okay, Darren says that's not true. Darren says, no, my evidence that Ray Epps is a secret Fed is that a week after January 6th, he called up the FBI and said, can you take my name off the FBI's most wanted list? And they didn't do it. That's the evidence that he's a secret fucking Fed.
Yeah, that
is that
ridiculous.
the most retarded argument you've ever heard?
Yeah, if he was a secret Fed, they would have taken it off immediately.
Yes, obviously. What the fuck is this argument? This is insane to me.
Right. Yeah, I told you it doesn't take a second to think to figure this out.
Well,
Like,
Darren's
yes,
making this
if he-
argument. He's the guy who wrote
look,
the article. He made this argument. He's making this argument.
If he is a Fed,
Yes.
like chances are he doesn't even get on the list, right?
Right.
But if he
But
is
even
on
if
the
he
list
did, yes.
and they fuck up immediately, they're like, oh shit, take him off now.
No, but
Right.
apparently he's called multiple times and they still will take his name off the list. And somehow that's
Right.
evidence that he's a secret Fed.
But let's leave him on as long as humanly possible is
Yes.
probably evidence that he's not a Fed, but that the person in charge of taking him off the list is probably just, you know, fucking around.
Why the fuck would they leave him on the list after their agent, calls them and tells them to take his name off the list for 6 months? What is going on here? I don't understand how he could make this. Like, this is what I mean when sometimes people make these baffling arguments that disprove their entire point and they think it's proof of their favor. Like, it makes no sense to me.
Yeah. This is not a point in your favor, Dan.
No.
Yeah. You need to rethink this one.
Yes.
I mean,
I can tell you why it's not true, okay? Because what you did, because I read your article, is you looked at 2 archived versions of the website and you didn't have a 12-month archive. For some reason, you assumed that the recent snapshot that you took at 2021, you think that was the first time the page has been changed. That was just...
And now Destiny's going to argue, no, it was taken off immediately. You just didn't know about it.
Right. He didn't catch, which
Right.
I don't know. I don't know the fact. I don't know if Destiny's factually accurate here or if Darren's factually accurate about how many times he called in terms of when he called and how he got taken off the list. But Destiny missed, and they missed that actually if they had listened to and they had taken Darren's claim to be true, that actually destroys his entire argument.
And I mean, he keeps saying quietly removed, like it's some kind of stealth edit. The implication is supposed to be, oh, look, they are secretly removing him from it.
Yeah, does the FBI send out like a press release every time they change the...
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Well, normally I could see, you know, if they actually capture somebody,
right,
who's wanted not just to talk to, but it's actually like some sort of terrorist. I'm sure they don't remove them quietly. They make a big production of it.
We
But this
captured so and so.
Yeah,
Right.
but this guy's a fucking nobody.
Yeah.
You know, like what the heck?
This is the first time the page has been archived. I don't think the FBI has made a statement on it, but what Epps testified to was that he either saw a video of himself or a friend saw a video of himself or a friend saw him on the list where people were, and then people were making videos, and then he called the FBI and he said, hey, I need to talk to you and this is what's going on. If he was a Fed, why would they remove him from the list when everybody... He was like one of the only people removed. Why would senators be defending him so vigilantly? Why wouldn't...
That's a great question. Why was he quietly removed right
Quietly,
when
look,
the question
you
of
can't
federal
stop.
involvement became a major part of the national conversation? And let me just...
That's a good question. Why were they so secretive about it, Sitch? Obviously, something's going on here. I smell a rat.
I don't want to get lost in these weeds. I just want to say something quickly. So you're saying he said we need to go into the Capitol peacefully. And you point out correctly that in many instances caught on video, he's engaged in what you could call de-escalation of the crowd, and he's not urging people to violence. That's all correct. I never said he's urging people to violence. He was absolutely a provocateur, and his mission, as stated and as implemented and as orchestrated by his own verbatim text, was he wanted people to go into the Capitol peacefully.
That might be the case.
Okay, wait. Okay, so the conspiracy has reached new levels of retardation. All right. So let's imagine that we're the evil deep state, okay? And we've decided that we want a bunch of people on January 6th that are Trump people to go break into the Capitol. And the entire point of this is to destroy Donald Trump's reputation, right? That'd be the supposed purpose of this, right? We're gonna risk that. Yeah, we're gonna risk this, right? Why the fuck would we tell our agents, listen, we want you to get them to break into the Capitol, so there's this murky fucking argument that we could be having for the next 4 years about whether people breaking into the Capitol but then just milling around constitutes an insurrection, right? Why would you tell Ray Epps to say that? In reality, if you're the evil deep state, you would say, no, tell them to go in the Capitol and start breaking shit, start attacking people, start burning it down, right? That's what you would tell people to do if that was the whole point, was to destroy Donald Trump's credibility going forward, right? You wouldn't say this like middle ground, like waffly bullshit. Oh, go into the Capitol, but just like stand there peacefully. Like what? That doesn't accomplish your goal.
Yeah, you want people to crap on Nancy Pelosi's desk.
Yes, you want video of people breaking the Capitol, destroying the entire complex, tearing down the statues and the painting. You want all that on video. You don't want the video of people breaking in and just kind of like wandering around like they did. This whole conspiracy makes no fucking sense.
Right. The deep state is out to get Trump. Interesting.
Wait, that might be the case. And if that's all you're saying,
it's not all. No, that's everything. That's everything.
Nobody here is saying that he didn't say that and he didn't want people to do that. But the claim is that there's some sort of...
That's illegal.
That's fine, and he could be charged for it. Do you think anybody's here care if he gets charged for that crime? The issue is you're saying that he was doing it under the direction of a federal agency.
Yeah,
that the 6'3" guy that looks like he's dying of type 2 diabetes and arthritis is somehow some intimidating Marine captain that's sending people into the Capitol. That was your claim that you've provided zero evidence for, and you don't in either of the articles that you write about him.
We've got Glenn back on the horn. And Glenn, we've been talking about Ray Epps. We played a video. I'm not sure if you saw it.
Not Glenn Beck.
Oh, did I say Glenn?
Greenwald.
Greenwald.
The other
Thanks, Glenn. That's so funny, Glenn.
They're hard to tell the difference between nowadays.
Glenn,
Glenn has been very...
Oh, did you catch that?
Yeah, he got even with him. He got even with him for that Supreme Court knowledge remark.
Wow, okay.
We should hear from Glenn Greenwald.
Wait, where's Alex been this whole fucking time? He's been gone.
He's been in the bathroom doing hot rails. Come on.
Okay. Okay, listen, let's be a little good faith here. Maybe he was in the bathroom getting wasted, right? Or maybe he's like, listen, when I sit next to Destiny, I just get too crazy, right? And I want my good friend Darren here to have an opportunity to talk. So I'm just going to like wander around the studio and let Darren actually get a chance to have a conversation.
Alex is hilarious. I can't hate Alex Jones. He's just so funny. Even though I do think this whole thing is like as bad faith as you can be.
That's his power.
Yeah.
Right?
He's just likable. Come on.
He's just so goofy.
What's happening, dude?
Well, I only heard the last 4 minutes of the conversation, but I'm still always amazed I really don't understand the argument, because the FBI and the US security state before January 6th was saying that they regard the greatest threat to national security not as being ISIS or Al Qaeda or Hamas or Hezbollah or China or any other foreign threat. They regard the greatest threat as being right-wing domestic extremists, in whom that was included on many lists: the Oath Keepers, the 3%ers, and all of the people in the groups that they said orchestrated January 6th. Is the argument that you think that the FBI was not monitoring and infiltrating those groups? Because there's actually a ton of evidence that the FBI had their hooks in all three of those groups, and not only had their hooks in them, but on January 6th had informants on the ground who were pretending to be Trump supporters, who were talking in real time to the FBI about everything that was happening. So I just want to understand what the claim is.
That's a much more reasonable claim, because none of those people texted their nephews that they orchestrated all of this, right?
Well,
Nobody knows who they are because they actually kept their cover.
Sure. It's reasonable, but also bullshit. Because
you don't think so?
Well, no. Well, what I'm gonna say is it's reasonable in terms of like, yeah, there probably were a bunch of FBI informants in all these various groups. I mean, we actually know that there were some FBI informants in some of the groups, and I'm sure there was FBI informants we don't know that were involved. Okay. But Glenn here is like doing this like fake obtuse shit where he's like, "Oh, what is the claim here? We know that the government has, informants in the Oath Keeper. The claim, which we know because Destiny literally just said it right before Glenn started talking, was that Ray Epps was working for the federal government in order to get people to go into the Capitol building. That's the claim they're having an argument about, right?
Ray Epps was one of them.
Right. So Glenn does this vague generalization shit. Was like, well, he's not saying whether he's not making a claim about whether that actually occurred, whether the federal government did, try to get people to jump in the Capitol, or whether Ray Epps was actually working for the feds. Instead, he makes this broad claim of, well, the government has other informants in other places, in the Oath Keepers and all this other stuff, right? It's like, well, and it's just annoying because like this is what people always do. You say like, well, do you have evidence of this one specific thing that you're claiming? No, but I have a bunch of general things about a bunch of, a general overlook of the situation. It's like, well, that doesn't prove the fucking claim.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying, you would think that if there were federal agents that were embedded in these different groups, that the goal would be to make it through the night without the Congress building being burned down. Like right, that would be the goal, right?
But see, that's because you and I live in a world of reality. Okay?
Right. Look, if I'm a federal agent, I'm trying to keep the violence down.
Right. Yeah. You would presume that any federal agent would be there to get information about people that are doing crimes and probably try to stop people from doing like really heinous shit. Yeah.
Right. Yes.
Sure.
Look, I agree with the claim that Greenwald is making. I feel like people are embedding themselves in these groups because they believe they are a legitimate threat and they want to neutralize that threat before anything happens. In the same way that we would go after any terrorist organization.
Right. But
we're trying to foil terrorist plots.
Right. That is true.
Now, Ray Epps goes completely against that because they're trying to say, look, no, the feds want to incite the terrorist plot.
Right. But that's the bullshit part of Glenn's claim is he's trying to use that information to say the opposite, to say that this is proof or to imply this is proof that the government is orchestrating January 6th or something.
Right. Yes. Well, if Ray Epps was one of those federal agents that was trying to neutralize the plot, it wouldn't have played out like this.
Yeah.
And why wouldn't they just out him? Why wouldn't they say, yeah?
Why wouldn't he be dead?
He was an agent.
No, seriously.
The feds are going to kill their own guy? Their own undercover guy?
Well, it's better than having him spend his life in a trailer being harassed by everyone who sees him, and now he's going to go to jail for 6 months, right?
No, they would look
because you'd be afraid. You'd be afraid he'd spill the beans at him. He's gonna let it slide that we did an entrapment. We did a honeypot on the January 6th.
Yeah, if that was the case, they would kill him. If he was just a Fed that was embedded in these groups to kind of minimize the violence, they would just say, look, he was one of ours. His cover got blown. Now we're going to put him in the witness protection agent program. Yeah. Like it would be done. They would take care of him. The reason why he's got to stumble around on his own is because he has
he's just some asshole.
Protection. Yeah, exactly. He has no government protection. They're like, look, you got yourself into this. You're a big boy. You get yourself out, shithead. And we'll give you 6 months in jail on top of it.
Claim that the FBI was not involved in the groups that organized January 6th and didn't have informants with them that day?
They weren't instigating. That's your claim.
It came out that the vice president of the Oath Keepers was an FBI informant. The Proud Boys had at least 3 and as many as 8. And the New York Times itself reported that there were FBI informants in the Proud Boys who were inside.
This has nothing to do with anything. It's so insane. Of course.
Also,
who cares?
When people, and I think one of the guys says this, when people say FBI informants, there's like this weird thing on the internet where people think FBI informant turns into federal agent.
No,
it's not what an FBI informant means, right? That means someone who is feeding information, who's a private citizen, who's feeding information to the federal government.
Oh, you could be a straight up criminal. A lot of criminals.
Most of them are criminals.
Yeah, of course. That's where they get the information from.
Right. And they actually there's actually problems and situations where they're informants, we've all seen the movies where it's like,
get killed.
Or it's like, the guy goes to the drug dealer who's literally selling drugs. And they're like, oh, you're going to bust it. Like the rookie's like, you're going to bust him. He's like, I'm not going to bust him. This guy's my informant, right? Even though he's literally selling drugs on the corner, the street, right?
Yeah.
It's just, I don't know. It's frustrating the way these conversations kind of get muddied.
The Capitol, texting their handlers as the event unfolded.
And they recorded the garage. They recorded the garage meeting the day before, and the Fed said to the court nothing was said violent or no planning.
Yeah.
Brian, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, so I'm just confused. So you're saying that Ray Epps was actually a federal agent who was indicted, who pled guilty, and is likely going to get 6 months in prison? Is that your argument?
Well, the New York Times protected.
Well, wait. So about Epps, so a couple of things there. You don't find it a little bit strange?
Wait.
I'll get to you. I promise you. I'll address that. But let's just consider the context. The context in the immediate aftermath of January 6th, by the words of Steve Sherwin, who is in charge of the prosecution, their posture was one of quote unquote shock and awe. They were going after everyone. They were hitting them very hard. Now, again, think about central casting. On paper, Ray Epps, he's the 6'3", former Marine in camouflage gear with a Trump hat, the only guy caught on video as early as the 5th telling people to go into the Capitol, who's there on the 6th directing people to the Capitol, who's right there pre-positioned at that initial breach phase. And this
helping ram signs.
Exactly. And he happens to be a former head of the Oath Keepers. And you're not telling me it's bizarre? Wait a second. You're not telling me it's at least a little bit bizarre that of all January 6 participants, he's the only one who gets a New York Times puff piece. He's the only one who gets a 60 minutes sympathy segment. He's the only one that Adam Kinzinger will defend.
So are you saying that
Okay, this is a retarded argument. Why did he get the 60 minutes puff piece? Why did the New York Times write about him? Why did those occur?
Because he was the only guy targeted by Tucker Carlson.
Oh, that's right. Because
it's so fucking simple.
Doing the most obvious stupid thing that people do, which is, if I'm on the left and the right does something, I have to do the opposite, right? They're the most common shit that occurs in the world.
Why was this guy even on Tucker Carlson's radar? Like, why was Tucker Carlson making stories about this guy? It's so weird.
Because they've been trying to push the narrative that, listen, it's not Trump's fault for January 6th. It's not Republicans' fault for January 6th.
It's the deep state's fault.
The deep state, because they really incited the violence, right? And when you scrounge around to try to prove that claim, you end up with the very weak sauce claims about Ray Epps.
Very sad.
Yeah.
It's very pathetic.
New York Times is now working with the feds, working with Ray Epps to
100%.
Yes. No, as a matter of fact,
the question
yes.
is, why do you think? Why do you think they all wrote those articles?
Why did they say they were WMDs in Iraq? Because they're told to.
So going back.
Why did they write those articles? Why don't you say that part? Why did they write those articles?
I want to address your question directly. You're saying if he were an asset, and by the way, I'm not definitive in the sense that, I don't think he was working directly for the FBI. I don't even know if he was directly working for the federal government. He was an asset. He was acting on behalf of a third party. He was not an authentic actor on that day. I will say.
Okay. So wait a minute. Because the claim, which is funny because I've never heard this from anyone else, because the claim seems so untenable that he could possibly be working for the federal government, now the claim has to be brought into, he's working for some third party, some magical third party. We don't know who this is. And now Alex Jones is saying he works for the ADL or the Southern Poverty Law Center or something.
Some other third party trying to make Trump look bad.
Okay, so the ADL or the SPLC or some other private organization is hiring some old guy to go instigate January 6th. And when that guy faces jail time and it gets in all this trouble, he doesn't immediately flip on the private organization. For what reason?
Yeah. Of course he would.
Like, this is insane.
With a great deal of evidence. But wait a second.
You mentioned all the victory. Let me say one thing. I've been gone for 10 minutes. It's a victory. They went from saying he's an angel, CNN, MSNBC, New York Times. He's perfectly now.
But
Alex, they've been forced to indict him.
Alex, quick thing on that. The criminal complaint acknowledges that he engaged in quote unquote felonious behavior. But among the mitigating factors that they cite is, this poor guy was a victim of all these conspiracy theories, which is pretty remarkable.
He was, though. He was.
I want to address
that. They didn't do that for any of the other people.
Why don't you answer? Why were people writing?
I want to just quickly answer the question about your question. Basically, if he was an asset, why did they go after their own asset? Why would they indict their own asset? That happens all the time. In fact, that's almost the norm, that ultimately
in the
when
mafia,
the assets,
when they have undercover people, they'll indict them just as a cover.
When the assets become liabilities, they indict them. In fact, we don't have to go too far into the past to get a case of that. There is the Michigan Fednapping case, or the Michigan kidnapping case, where there is the informant, Steve Robeson, who is a long-time, over decade-long informant, who was part of the entrapment scheme in Michigan case with striking parallels to January 6th, by the way. And he, when he became inconvenient, was indicted by the government. There's so many
breaking
cases.
the law, for actually breaking the law.
I need a better argument.
I want to get my point in really fast. I haven't been able to get my point in. So you're saying that Ray Epps is a federal agent.
Well, I didn't say that. I said he was acting on behalf of a third party.
Oh, wait. Okay, so he's a federal agent, maybe, because that's an example of this other person, but maybe he's not actually a federal agent. Okay.
He was an inauthentic actor on January 6th.
Even though there's no evidence of this. And then you're saying he's turning around and he's suing Fox News for defamation, which is going to open up all sorts of cans of worms with discovery that he's going to have to provide legally in front of a court. You think that if he was a federal agent, he'd be suing Fox News for defamation?
They know they control the jurisdiction, but he did say in a text message that day during it, I orchestrated the attack.
You think he's going to sue for defamation?
He's going to
sue for defamation?
So it's unfortunate because that's a really good question, but unfortunately, Alex is going to just blow over the whole thing. If he really was working for the feds or some other third entity, why would it would be such a tremendous risk to sue Fox News? Because Fox News could just say, well, he actually did, and we're going to try to find the evidence of that.
You assume that he's already given up all the information that he has. I mean, that's how they got the text messages.
Of course. But right. That's what I'm saying.
He's got nothing to hide.
Right. So, but if I'm saying, but this question is a good question, which is that if he really did have something to hide, why the fuck would he be suing Fox News for defamation?
Yeah. Look, they're in a dreamland that he's some kind of federal asset or agent or informant or anything.
Listen, it's not for the feds. He works for the World Economic Forum. Okay.
Well, okay.
He works for Klaus Schwab.
Oh, yeah. That makes way more sense, actually.
To his nephew that
actually, I lied. He actually works for Victoria Nuland, obviously.
Oh yeah. Look, when he whispered in that guy's ear, he's like, "Who do you think should be the next president?"
Exactly. I think it should be a lady named Victoria Nuland.
I think it should be a gentleman named Trump.
There you go.
He was there.
And he said, I orchestrated
it.
To his nephew.
To his nephew.
It's a nephew.
Why would a federal agent text such incriminating evidence to his nephew?
Why wasn't he indicted before? We made him the centerpiece.
How did he orchestrate it? I mean, orchestrate it makes it seem like he talked to every single person that went into the Capitol. Like he personally gave a note over to Ashley Bobbitt. Right. Don't climb in. Let him say no to you.
This is what you don't. Okay, this is what is going to come out in Discovery when he sues Fox News. Okay, you know that drug that they're saying that the Hamas people had?
Captagon.
Yeah. So what you're actually going to find out is that he was actually giving out water bottles spiked with Captagon on January.
He was a Captagon agent. Wow.
He was, yeah. See, he wasn't working for the feds. He's actually working for Hamas. Okay, they were really moving some Captagon on January 6th.
Yeah, see, this is just ridiculous. The whole idea that, like, even I want to hear the response from his nephew, because his nephew was like, "Yeah, sure, Grandpa. He orchestrated the whole
what was the
fucking
reply
thing."
to that? That's a good question.
I'm sure it was like a laughing emoji.
Right. It's a cry laugh emoji. Imagine that being read in court. So yeah, you texted your nephew. I got the people to go in the Capitol. Reply: cry laughing emoji. Roll
No,
below.
look,
LMAO.
this is the thing. We will not know if it's a cry laugh emoji, because when they solicit the text messages, the emojis don't come out. They just
You're
come
right.
out as like a dash.
It's so sad. We'll never know. Yeah.
So it could be a cry laughing emoji, and we wouldn't even know
I
yet.
know. Sad.
That's what we need.
We need to compel this nephew to testify. That's what I think.
I know. I want to hear about the emoji. I want to hear what emoji it was.
Hearings. He was all over the news.
There's
They were forced to do it thanks to Tucker Carlson and Professor Darren Beatty's work.
Wait, why do you trust Tucker Carlson when he said he lied to you? Tucker Carlson said Sidney Powell was crazy. Tucker Carlson left Fox News because he didn't believe the election fraud claims, that he was being forced to push on TV because of Trump. Why would you trust Tucker Carlson of all people?
Tucker early on thought it was wrong. Now he says he was wrong about that. Now he says he thinks the election.
Oh, crazy! So when the
lawsuit
goes away, when his lawsuit goes away, the answers change.
You know, listen, whether you're right or wrong, you have a right to question the elections. The Democrats do.
No one wants to take that right from you.
Brian, you were saying?
It's not really super relevant to the conversation about the Tucker Carlson thing, so I don't think it really needs to be brought up. But it is interesting, and it is kind of bullshit, Alex Jones's answer here, because like Tucker Carlson was caught in 4K in the text messages talking about that he didn't believe the election fraud stuff and thought Donald Trump sucked ass. And then when that comes out, suddenly now he's like, listen, I believe it now. Now that you guys know how I really felt, now I've seen the light. Now I really believe that the election was stolen. Come on, that's preposterous. That's like, how naive are you as an individual at that point? Like, you really want to believe, that at that point.
Look, now that you've seen my text messages and know that I, Tucker Carlson, am a bold-faced liar, look, I think you guys have a good argument here. Let's be friends again.
Right, yeah. That'd be like if, I leak. Adam leaks there's DMs that I sent him. I'm like, listen, Adam, I don't want you to tell anyone this, but I 100% think the election was stolen, right? I think Joe Biden
would so leak those DMs so quickly.
Doing cocaine off a hooker's ass with his son Hunter, okay? Was shooting him up with heroin in the butt, right?
Why you never DM me something like this? This is juicy stuff. I
and then you leak
some screenshots.
And then I'm like, listen, at the time I thought all that was true, but now that it's been leaked, I don't. I've changed my mind.
Yeah.
Like, okay.
Those are some old DMs.
Yeah.
Why are you leaking old stuff?
That's old stuff. Listen, that was like a year ago. In this year, I've completely changed all my thoughts on this. In public.
You
do. Yes.
Can I say something here? Because I think
Glenn Greenwald. Glenn, go ahead.
The whole context for this conversation is, again, I mean, you just keep going back to it because it's so easy to see. People have this idea of the FBI, like, oh, they don't do this sort of thing. Earlier, I think it was Ed who said, wait, why would the New York Times run a puppies? Do you think they're working with the FBI? Like, that idea to him is so foreign.
I didn't say that. I didn't say that. It was me.
No idea what the history of the FBI is in this country. They have no idea that the FBI throughout the entire war on terror did this over and over. They would target and trap all sorts of vulnerable Muslims to engage in plots that the FBI created in order to create a narrative that the FBI was needed because there was a much bigger threat of Islamic terrorism than there actually was. The FBI has been infiltrating and then using provocateurs to encourage groups to commit crimes so that the FBI can gain more power, can spread this narrative. You have to be incredibly naive or only paying attention to the news since 2016 and thinking Donald Trump is the only issue, not to understand that this is what the FBI has been doing for decades. And so to have this like naive attitude, like, oh, is the New York Times working with the FBI? That is what the media in this country has been doing.
But you have no evidence of it. You're just making theories up.
So the question on the table is, did the FBI incite January 6th? And was Ray Epps an asset? Okay. That's the question on the table, right?
Very basic.
Right. And so we have to pause that conversation because Glenn has to say, listen, did you know FBI bad?
Exactly.
I don't know if you knew this, but the FBI, they bad.
Yeah. They've done this before, so obviously they're doing it now.
In the past, they bad. So now they still bad. The FBI, they bad. Like this is retarded. And also, like, talk about mind reading too. Because so even if I were to grant, I haven't looked into all this fucking cases, so I don't even know if anything he's saying is true. But even if I were to say it is true,
they always come out. Like the people get arrested and they're like, "Oh, we got tricked into doing this," and it becomes a big court case and shit like that.
Right.
Like none of that happened here. None of that happened here.
I'm saying, like, even if that is true, that hasn't actually happened here. And no one has even claimed that actually, to my knowledge.
Yes, look, they're trying to foil plots. Sometimes the people involved in the plots, they kind of entrap them a bit.
Right.
All of that comes out in court.
But even if I were to grant Glenn's thesis statement, which, by the way, I don't know if you saw this, the other day on Twitter, someone was posting the classic, like the most classic woke clip. Okay, before woke even existed. And the classic woke clip was when Sam Harris was on Bill Maher. And remember, Ben Affleck was there.
Yes.
And that's where Sam Harris and Bill Maher are talking about, like, the dangers of radical Islam. And that's where Ben Affleck was like, it's gross. It's racist.
Yeah,
yes.
I remember that.
Like, classic meme. Okay. And just the other day, this is being posted around on Twitter. And here we have Glenn Greenwald defending Ben Affleck, siding with Ben Affleck here, saying it was gross and racist for Sam Harris to bring these accusations about Islam. And I bring this up because he's
really?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
So he posted this recently. Glenn Greenwald did.
No, well, Mehdi Hassan, I think, reposted it, and Glenn Greenwald like retweeted it, like supporting it. Yeah.
That's like, first of all, that clip is 1 million years old, and who's gonna take? Nobody took Ben Affleck's side in the actual when that happened.
Well, apparently Mehdi Hassan and Glenn are taking his side now.
Okay. Wow.
Right.
Okay.
Calling Sam Harris a big racist because of the comments he made in 2010 or whenever the fuck this happened.
Yeah, I know. It's like so long ago.
Right. So, and the reason I'm bringing it up is because he's going back to that well. Now, if you heard, he's like, the FBI is going around and they're entrapping poor Muslim men into, getting them to commit terrorist crimes they didn't actually commit. And even if I were to grant that the FBI was engaged in doing something to this effect, why is Glenn making these? He takes something that may or may not be true, because I don't know the specifics of any of these cases, but then he creates a motivation out of whole cloth. And he says, well, the reason the FBI is doing this, the reason that they're going around to people and getting them to commit these evil terrorist acts by entrapping them is because the FBI wants to increase their funding and increase their power. And that's why they're doing all these things. It's like, is that why they're doing it? Or is it because people actually look around and they find people that they think are liable to do a terrorist action and they justify it, whether it's right or not, to say, well, I think this person is going to do a terrorist action, so therefore I'm going to create this scenario where they think they're going to do terrorism, but they don't actually do the terrorism.
Right. And I'm going to take the person off the street. I mean, both could be true. Both could definitely be true. I mean, they want wins. They want to be able to come out at the end of the year and say, look, we foiled 175 terrorist plots.
That's true.
And, if we have to trick dumbasses into doing a terrorist plot so that we could foil it, well, maybe we do that. Look, none of that has anything to do with January 6th. Look, no terrorist plot was uncovered here. Look, you had all of these people. If Ray Epps was involved, you have all of these people that they're throwing the book at, that they want to, put them away forever for doing this stuff. If they can blame it on someone, why they are blaming it on someone? Why wouldn't they? Like if Ray Epps was talking them into doing this kind of stuff, wouldn't they flip on him? Wouldn't they be like, oh, look, there's this guy that told me to do it? Wouldn't a lot of people be saying that about Ray Epps? And then they could look at Ray Epps and say, oh, look, the case completely leads to this guy.
To be clear, you're saying that why haven't any of the people that got prosecuted for January 6th crimes for breaking the Capitol turn around and say, well, Ray Epps incited me to do it?
Look, when these cases come out, and they come out pretty regularly, what the argument that Glenn Greenwald is making is not insane. Like we're talking about it logically here. They want to say that they foiled all these terrorist plots. Those things first of all, they don't let them put on the suicide vest and go down to the mall. Okay. They stop it before that happens, obviously. Right. But when they start prosecuting them and digging in, they start realizing, okay, well, maybe the agents didn't act so ethically here.
Right.
Well, that would happen here. That would definitely happen. They would look at the people who went in. They would say, look, Ray Epps wasn't acting very ethically here. He's a federal asset, and he was goading them into going in. This is entrapment. We
but
can't
they covered
arrest
it up
these
this
people.
time, though.
Yeah, but the people who are being arrested, they would be screaming bloody murder.
But
they'd be like, this guy Ray Epps was the one that telling me to
No,
go in.
no, they wouldn't, because they drank the Captagon water, so they don't realize
okay.
that they were entrapped.
None of this makes any sense. None of this makes any sense. We know everything that's going on in this situation. Like, everybody's text messages have been looked at. These guys are just conspiracy.
But
nuts.
it feels, listen, I want to go on the twitter.coms on the X platform. I want to type in glowy. He glows and shines. I want to tweet that meme out, okay, and then feel justified on it.
Look, the only one that I have any respect for in this conversation is Alex Jones, because at least he seems to be intelligent enough to know that what he's saying is bullshit. Like, I honestly can't believe, like, what I used to think Glenn Greenwald was like an intelligent human being here. What is he on?
He's on America Bad. He's been on America Bad for like decades. That's his whole operating his whole operating worldview is America Bad.
Look, for his understanding of the world to actually work, every single person that works in the Federal Bureau of Investigations has to be corrupt. Every single one of them.
They are, because America's bad.
You could convince me that there's probably a few corrupt guys in there, but to convince me every single one of those guys is not like, I work for the FBI. This is the most storied institution in America. I'm a Fed. I'm a chief law enforcement officer. I'm fucking Superman. I'm going to stop the terrorists and save the world.
Well,
that's the attitude those guys have.
It's funny because you have people, I mean, Glenn is on the left, right? But you have people who are like leftists who will sit and they'll say, the cops are going around just trying to arrest innocent black men, right?
Yeah.
And they're doing this because they're racist and they're trying to perpetuate white systemic power, right? And then people on the right say, oh, that's obscene. That's obviously not happening. But then if Glenn says, listen, the FBI is going around just trying to entrap, innocent people constantly. And they're just having like,
why do they buy that?
Right. Yeah. And then they just buy that whole cloth. It's like, well, wait a minute. What the fuck is happening here? Like, why are we assume that one narrative is completely false, and then we buy the other narrative and assume the other narrative is completely true? Just because it seems nice with our political views?
Yeah, when they're basically the same narrative.
They're literally the same narrative. It's just different. It's just that who the target is appeals to a different group of people.
Very good point.
By the way, if I can just add a nice little colorful detail there, the author of the Ray Epps puff piece that asked none of the questions that would get to the core of his involvement there. It's a total puff piece. You can read it yourself. The author of that, his previous work includes the CIA authorized account of the Sinaloa cartel.
Yeah,
so
the idea of the New York Times, say something. The idea of the New York Times is doing cleanup work for the deep state is insane. What Glenn Greenwald was saying is key. I remember the New York Times headline. They can pull it up in there. We're not showing videos or clips. It would be too much here. I remember the New York Times headline like 15 years ago. 97% of Islamic terror plots were hatched and run by the FBI. That was the headline.
We're getting so far
including
away from
the first
point,
World
though.
Trade Center bombing, by the way, which is
Alex, just one really quick thing. You said Ray Epps was one of the last to be charged. He isn't the last to be charged. There's 1,200 people that have been charged. 1,250, I believe.
Who said he's the last to be charged?
Alex said they waited 3 years.
Be right back.
Yeah, they waited 3 years. That's
do you realize that they're still indicting people and they expect that they're probably going to...
They had puff pieces. He was on ABC.
Let me finish my point, Alex.
Oh, my God.
So
go ahead.
Do you realize that they're still indicting people? There's likely going to be hundreds of people still indicted. Ray Epps didn't get any less a sentence than anybody else that did anything like it.
Well, first of all, they could have hit him with far more serious charges than they did.
He addressed me.
Well, what would the charge be?
Let me respond.
That's an interesting question. What charge do you recommend? What charge would have been a fair charge?
May I respond to what you said?
Yeah, let Alex respond, and then I want to hear Darren's response.
My God. The man is like a chicken with his head cut off for 3 days, including the day of the event, running around saying, go in the Capitol. He's ramming signs into people. He testifies, I orchestrated this attack.
He did not testify.
And then there was a Jan 6 committee. They asked about this text message. He said, I did that.
The text, he didn't testify that he orchestrated.
No, he testified to the Jan 6 committee.
That he sent the message to his nephew.
No, he testified to the Jan.
That he orchestrated it to the Jan 6 committee?
You keep interrupting because you can't. I'm
not telling the truth.
I'm Michael Jordan slamming on you, and what's going to happen is everybody's going to get this clip.
Yep.
He testified to the Jan 6 committee. They said, "Is this your text message?"
Yes.
He said, "Yes." I told my nephew I orchestrated it. Now stop. Let me finish my point.
Okay.
Thank
you for being honest with us.
You keep acting honest. He said I orchestrated it. You keep acting like
he testified that he said to his nephew that he said that.
Yes.
Yes.
In a text message.
Okay, there you go.
And he did orchestrate
So he did testify.
He did?
So the point is, you keep acting like my victory is a failure.
Wait, where's the evidence that he orchestrated it? I'd love to see
He
that.
said it.
But
Oh
to
my God.
his nephew. I text my
Doesn't
friends
matter.
things all the time that are embellishments.
Because you guys, let me finish my point. They're all over every major corporate channel saying this poor little baby. They're saying he was a Fed or an operative or a provocateur for some NGO. He didn't do anything wrong. And when it got so obvious, they finally indicted him with a slap on the wrist. And then you're sitting here saying he didn't testify. He just testified. Whoa.
No, he said he didn't testify that he orchestrated it. He testified that he sent that text to his nephew.
That he orchestrated it.
But no, then they asked him, Alex, then they asked him if he actually orchestrated it. What was his answer?
In the transcript, he said...
it wasn't that he orchestrated it.
So if I send somebody a message saying a bank is robbed, I robbed the bank.
Have you ever embellished a text message to anybody that you know? Like you, maybe not you. I can't see you doing that, but maybe.
Actually, I'm kind of an understated guy.
Yeah, Alex, you started bringing up a good point. If I send a text message saying I robbed the bank, can I get charged with robbing a bank if I didn't do it?
If they got evidence. He's there.
Exactly. They need the evidence.
And it's not like he's there saying go into the building.
They need
it's
the
not
evidence,
like he's there saying go into the and ramming signs. You're right. He's not there saying go in for 3 days. He's not there ramming signs. You're right. Ray Epps is innocent. He's not there ramming signs.
Can we get back to my question?
Not innocent.
You asked a question.
Yeah, so my question
You guys are indefensible.
My question is, what should Ray Epps have been charged with? What law did he break that instead of what he was charged with, I think, was obstructing the proceeding?
Let me respond.
No, he was not charged with that. That's the interesting thing.
He was charged with what?
He was not charged with obstruction of an official proceeding, which would have been a very easy charge and a fairly typical felony charge given to... Exactly. So wait, let me answer this comprehensively. So first of all,
I'm ready.
It's extremely strange given how conspicuous and egregious and concentrated his behavior was that he somehow was able to avoid the obstruction of official proceeding charge. Number one. Number two, there are even more serious charges they could have given him. In fact, in the series of videos that we put out, there's one specific exchange he had with another guy. He said, when we go in, leave this here. We don't want to get shot. The when we go in, leave this here, he's referring to that individual's bear spray. That individual ends up going into the Capitol, committing violence, and doing a whole bunch of other things. And this is a bizarre case because this guy, who is super egregious, has to this day not fully been charged. His case hasn't even gone to a district judge yet.
So the obstruction case.
So let me give you a sense. Let me give you a sense. Because when we're evaluating these things, we have to compare them to standards applied to others.
Let me stop you. You'll go next. Owen Schroyer, I've known him 8 years. He's a badass guy that helps disabled children and is literally like a super good person. No criminal issues in his life other than protesting. He is with me saying don't go in They charge him, and in the charging documents say, Owen's lying. He doesn't work for InfoWars. That's in the charging documents. The sentencing documents, the judge says, I'm putting you in these months in federal prison because you just questioned the election again and gave 3 examples of where he did it.
No,
So Owen spends months in a federal prison.
Why don't you talk about the deferred agreement that he had in 2019?
No, I agree. I will. Code Pink runs around and protesting. He put tape over his mouth when they were letting leftists run around and throw red paint in Congress, and they said, sir, you can't do that.
And he agreed that he wouldn't do it, and he did.
And then he didn't protest. He went there to cover it as a journalist.
He was in a restricted area, though.
No, he was on. Listen, Ray Epps is not spent. Listen. Owen is there with me saying, don't go in. He agreed he would not protest. He was there saying, don't go in the Capitol, and you're not going to defend him going to prison.
But he pled guilty to everything that he got charged with.
Because it's a rigged D.C. court.
Or he.
Oh, you laughed because that happened to you.
Or you could explain.
It's funny because like the problem is on our side. We've got testimony under oath. We've got judicial rulings. We've got jury trials. We've got full videos. Not
Everybody's
15-second clips.
got the video.
We have all of these. We have all of these pieces of evidence.
And you say
I can't finish a single statement.
Yeah, wait, let Stephen continue.
Yeah, the problem
let me
is.
tell you something. Saying my reporter deserves to go to jail for being there and trying to keep people going to the building.
He had it deferment. He pled guilty.
Yeah,
he did it.
What do you do in a rigged D.C. court?
Fight your case.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Innocent fight. If you have evidence that you're innocent, fight. But there was no evidence because he broke the agreement that he signed, and then he pled guilty and said, I broke the agreement that I signed, and agreed to the sentence that the sentencing guidelines.
And Trump shouldn't be able to run for office.
Also, this entire argument has been you, again, arguing for an insurrection, for rebellion. All we have, everything we have over here is actual testimony under oath, actual judicial rulings, actual rulings by judges, actual rulings by Supreme Court. I can't finish. I have to be able to finish. I got to be able to finish. Well, I got to be able to finish. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. We can provide these arguments. We can provide the evidence. We can provide the testimony. And all you do is go, oh, well, I don't trust the courts. Oh, well, I don't trust statements made under oath. Oh, hasn't the FBI done this in the past? You can skirt by providing hard evidence. I got to be able to finish one thing.
You know how much
you can skirt by. You can skirt by on providing any hard evidence for literally a single claim that you've made today. There hasn't been any evidence provided to support any of the claims made today. And you are hand brushing away every single other claim that's made, literally testified under oath by people that were loyal to Trump, by people that Trump trusted over and over again. And at the end of the day, like, what could you possibly be advocating for besides an insurrection? I can't even finish a thing.
You just said,
I think it's because when I talk, you get really afraid.
No,
I actually respect. I appreciate that.
You just said,
I understand. Okay.
You just said, when I defended Owen, you just said, here you are advocating for insurrection again. Exact quote. A guy saying, don't go in the Capitol as a reporter, and you don't even stand up for the First Amendment. Or
you don't trust the court? Do you trust the courts?
I don't think most Americans do, and that's when you have real revolutions.
If you don't trust the court, real revolution, what do we do in a real revolution?
Hey, listen, we're not trying to go there right now.
We are there right now. We just were. It's January 6th.
Listen,
if there was any time to go there,
don't worry.
Don't touch me.
Listen. If there is one,
where would you?
If there is one, you're going to lose.
Sure.
Buddy.
Okay. We'll see. Okay. Didn't like 4 people dying on January 6th from obesity and meth?
It's never good when the debate breaks down into one person touching you saying, listen, if it comes to violence,
you're going to lose.
You're going to lose. Okay. Things have not gone well. Or maybe, I mean, they've gone well for us, the audience, I guess. They haven't gone well for the sake of, having some sort of conversation that's,
Go ahead. I keep interrupting.
No, that's it. It's fine.
Do you agree with the assertion that if the shit hits a fan, it's the right that has all the guns and is gonna? I mean, that's not untrue. Yeah. Look.
Yeah.
I think the right. There's probably more right wingers in the military than left wingers in the military.
I just want to point out. Look at my pause game. This is like a meme. This is like a piece of art right here. Okay, this should be hung in a gallery, right? How many memes could you create from this image of what is Alex Jones telling Destiny? What is the fatherly advice Alex Jones is trying to tell Destiny at this moment? Okay, son, let me tell you about the deep state.
Exactly. Okay.
Let me explain to you about the frogs.
Let me explain to you how they're making the frogs gay.
Yes. Let me tell you about Owen. Okay.
Did you drink the water, Destiny?
Did you get the Catholic on?
Hi, you just listened to a clip from the Sitch and Adams show. If you like what you heard, you can listen to our live show right here on this channel on Sunday, starting at 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern. And if you want, you can super chat us. We read $20 and up super chats on the show and then do a follow-up stream on the following Tuesday where we read the rest of the unread super chats and interact with fans of the show. Subscribe to this channel right here to listen to the live show or to listen to more of our awesome clips.